The Morgan You Know Podcasting Network presents 90s Rock Bands Battle.
I'm not going to fault you for who your musical choices are.
32 rock bands, 4 divisions, 1 winner.
I can tap my toes to a couple of their tracks, but it was 21-0 for the Red Hot Chili Peppers here.
Oh my God, and it kills me. It kills me.
They're really good.
Find us on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you download your podcasts.
I'm quitting. I'm quitting the family. I'm quitting the podcast. Like, I'm done.
TheMorganYouKnow.com.
Hello, Internet. The Morgan You Know Podcast Network presents Balls and Brew.
Thank you for joining us and welcome to another edition of the flagship sports podcast here on the Morgan You Know Podcasting Network. I am your affable host. My name is Rod Morgan. I am joined by my fellas. We sit around, we talk about sports that involve balls, much the same way you do when you're having brews with the fellas. Thus the name Balls and Brew. Joining me is the producer of this and every other podcast here on the network. He is Jimmy Jamriska. James, hello.
Hello. I'd like affable, though, for you. I think that is a good description.
Yeah, I try, right? I mean, that's exactly how I want to at least set the tone at every podcast. I try to be affable. I try to be welcoming. And then there's a very good chance that our next guest joining us from North Carolina will say something asinine, and then I'll start to get angry. It's Chris Crane. Chris, hello.
I was going to call you cantankerous.
See? And we're off to a great start already. And joining us because the football season is upon us and we're happy to have him back. He's our handicapper. He makes us smarter every week. He's chopping up the numbers. He's listening to the podcast. He's making the bets. He's Josh Williams. Josh, hello.
What's up, boys? I want to quickly correct something I said last week. I said
again, off to a great start this week, Jimmy. Chris is calling me cantankerous and Williams is correcting himself. We are off to a bang-up start.
He's circling back a week now, dude. Come on.
Circling back a week. I listened to the pod, and I said the Packers were 1 win away from winning the division last year. That is incorrect. They were 1 win away from making the playoffs last year. So just want to clear that up here.
We did get 4 emails about that.
Yeah, people were way angry that you messed that up.
Very sorry. Very sorry.
Well, that was the NFC North. This week, we're going to talk about the NFC West. I mean, we've talked about running backs at the beginning of every podcast. I suppose we should go to our correspondent on the ground in the most breaking running back situation. That's Colts v. Jonathan Taylor. Our guy, the producer, Jimmy Jam. You're there. What's happening?
Nothing.
Fabulous. Great. Again, great, wonderful start out of us. We have a reporter on the ground in the Jonathan Taylor situation, and we have nothing to report. Chris is calling me cantankerous, and Williams is correcting himself from last week. Here we go. Off to the NFC West. So the NFC West, there was a time where there was a lot of good teams out in the NFC West. Now Arizona seems to be fumbling. Seattle, maybe we see regression in them. Maybe they're real. The San Francisco 49ers, we all know how much Williams loves them. Oh, and that's right. Jimmy's once predicted back-to-back Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams also out in this division. Where do we start? Let's start with Williams. You pick a team for us to start. You've got the facts. You've got the figures. You pick a team for us to start, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, we'll start with the division odds here. San Fran minus 200 to win the division. Seattle plus 220. The Rams are plus 850, and the Cards are plus 2,700, so 27-1. If you think Arizona is going to surprisingly win the NFC West, those odds are on Caesars right now. We could start off with those Rams. I mean, we said it in 2021, man. They made a deal with the devil. They got rid of all those draft picks to win the Super Bowl, and guess what? It worked. It worked in 2021. They loved it, and now the current 2023 Rams are paying for it. I mean, they come in with the 14th toughest schedule. They're still solid versus the run, largely because of Aaron Donald. He clogs up those lanes, but they're still a bottom third team DVOA versus the pass, and they didn't do anything in the draft to address that secondary. I mean, they were 4th worst at completion percentage allowed last year, and it's possible that ranking gets worse. Total yards per game on offense, they were dead last, and Stafford only had a 67 PFF grade last year. They should tank, but I don't think it's in McVay and certainly not in Stanford's DNA. Last report, the Rams have 36 rookies on their team. That's 68% of the team is rookies. That's absurd. That probably won't stick on a 53-man roster, but still, to even have that many on the team right now is just insane. And what's really fascinating is the Rams play in the same city as Caleb Williams. If this team struggles out of the gate, does the owner put in the call to tank? It's very interesting. These bottom two teams could both be in play for Caleb Williams going into next year's draft.
Williams just told us somehow the Rams have the 14th toughest schedule in the NFL. They were terrible last year. He told us about a team in one of our pods earlier. I can't remember exactly which one it was, who was good last year, and they have a cupcake schedule. How in the world are they coming up with these things at the home office in New York, Jimmy? Your best guess. What are they? Is there a computer? Is there a chimp? What are we doing? Are we rolling dice? What's happening?
So, Rod, that's a great question, and it really kind of depends on the rotation of what league or what division they're playing in the opposite league. And it just so happens those Rams got a tough draw with the AFC North. We got the Bengals, we got the Browns, who could be the worst team in the league or the best team in the league. Obviously, the Steelers are always tough as well, so it's going to be pretty tough for them to come back. Oh yeah, by the way, Lamar Jackson says hi as well. It's going to be really tough for them to do anything this year. Like William said, they just made a deal with the devil and they lost.
Chris, you're our resident conspiracy theorist around here. Do you believe what Jimmy said there in rotation? I believe is doing an awful lot of work there. Jimmy said they just had to draw these divisions on rotation. I mean, do you honestly believe that there's like, this is the way it was written down? Herb from last year told me that next year you guys are playing this division. I mean, do you really believe that that's how it's going?
To an extent, yes, but I guarantee you that they wanted to have that San Francisco-Philadelphia Eagle rematch, and to do that, they needed them to play the AFC East, and that kind of screws over the Rams, but what are we expecting from the Rams anyway? Do they really have anybody on their offense besides Stafford and Kupp?
Yeah, don't they still have Cam Akers, who we thought they were trying to trade last year and who left the team for a little while? Now, here he's back as their starting running back, or am I wrong on that?
Oh, I think you're right. They really sold their soul for that Super Bowl championship. And last year was really their last chance to try to repeat that. And it was obvious from the get-go that wasn't going to happen. So now you have a lot of what I would consider 3-star NFL athletes on this team with Cooper, Kupp, and Matt Stafford. And that's pretty much all you got.
Chris
Maybe
Lombardi
6
over here.
wins.
Chris Lombardi over here with the 3-star guys. I like it. Jimmy, how much longer is Matthew Stafford quarterback in the Los Angeles Rams?
He has this year, and I think then that's going to be it because I think they're going to get a top 5 pick next year and pick another quarterback. So I think
So Williams, I think that's what you were alluding to, right? You think the Rams are going to maybe toss in the towel and look to get themselves Caleb Williams?
Well, one of my best bets, and I have two for this division. I love these division odds here for this year. One of my best bets is the Rams under 6.5, -115 on DK. This juice is significantly lower than FanDuel and Caesars, so always be shopping for the best price. Shout out to our female listeners there. Always be shopping. But I think, and listen, we never see blockbuster trades. How about this? Where did Matt Stafford go to college?
He went to
Georgia. Who needs a quarterback this year who could be awesome, who I have winning the NFC South? Let the Rams tank and trade Matt Stafford to his home state team, Atlanta. What does that do for the Falcons, man? That would put them right in the thick of the NFC playoff race, in my opinion. Let's get a blockbuster trade for the NFL. Let's put it out in the aura here, and let's make this happen for the NFL.
I think we have as much chance of seeing that blockbuster trade as we have of seeing a blockbuster video open up in our town. I think that's about as much chance as we have of seeing that trade.
Yeah, it sounds more like an off-season move, for Stafford's little swan song. I don't see it happening mid-season.
I do love it though, Williams. Listen, I love nothing more than to have action like that during the NFL season for us to talk about.
Let's go, yeah.
All right, let's get off of the Rams. That's far too much discussion about a team that we don't think is going to win this division. Let's start talking about one of the two teams that we think may have a shot at it. Either one of them. I mean, that's got to be Seattle or San Francisco, right, Williams? I was leaving you wide open right there.
Yeah, let's go with Seattle here. 13th easiest schedule. They bring back Bobby Wagner, who surprisingly was the top ranked linebacker per PFF in 2022 at age 33. Bobby's still doing things out there. So I have a trend for Seattle here, including last season. There have been 102 teams since '08 that went into the next season after having lost at least 6 games by 1 score or less. Of those 89 teams prior to 2022, 68 of them improved their one-loss record the next season, including 34 of them by 4+ wins. The average improvement of the 68 teams was 3.76 wins per season. Of the 5 teams that qualified for this angle last year, 4 of them improved by 3.75 wins on average over the 2021 season. This is by far, I mean, I think there's 13 teams that qualify for this trend, and Seattle is one of them this year. So um, they have a big scheduling quirk that goes in their favor early in the year. They get a bye after a cross-country road Monday Night Football game in New York. They had a top 10 scoring offense last season, and now they bring in Jackson Smith and Jigba, wide receiver from Ohio State, who's going to free up space for DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. They have 2 good running backs, Kenny Walker and Zach Charbonnet, the rookie from UCLA. And Pete Carroll has won at least 9 games in 10 of 11 seasons as head coach in Seattle. That's my other best bet. I love Seattle over 8.5. You have to pay a lot of juice. It's minus 142 on FanDuel, but compare that to Seattle on DK, that number is 9.5. So if you get it on FanDuel, they only have to go over 8.5 minus 142. Always be shopping for those best prices, boys.
Shout out to Reggie, right? Isn't that the guy's name from that's the Nutty Professor Williams was pulling that line from, right? Yeah. It's great work out of you, Williams. Also, I mean, the Seattle stuff's good too, but the Nutty Professor part was my favorite part. Chris, how about you?
Oh, by far. Who knew Williams had jokes today?
Jimmy, you probably love those numbers though, right?
Does Williams have jokes today? No. I mean, if you can get a whole game difference, go for that for sure. What does Seattle have to do to get any respect from the books or any NFL fans? All they do is go out and win. They had a pretty stable season last season, and then if you look at their schedule, they still have to play that same schedule as the Rams do as far as the opponents, but they've got a good shot here. They really do have, and look at what they're ending with too. They're ending with Tennessee, Pittsburgh, and Arizona. 2 of those 3 games are easily winnable. I think that the Seahawks are going to definitely go over that, Williams. Good call.
Yeah, I think they're definitely guaranteed about 9 wins plus. You're right. And plus, it helps that they play the Cardinals and the Rams twice each. So that's 4 wins right there.
Hey, Williams, let me ask this to you. Do you believe this if I said to you, Pete Carroll, sort of less intense Mike Tomlin, in that his teams are just always going to sort of keep themselves right at water level? They're just never going to sink too much. They're just always going to be right there and in the running. I mean, his proof is in the pudding, his second run around in Seattle, no?
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. He is definitely the light rah-rah Tomlin. He's the West Coast rah-rah Tomlin.
He's got a lot of rah-rah in him though, right? He's a little more rah-rah than anything else.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, listen, I'm just going to go ahead and give my pick away here based on your numbers there. I was going to go Seattle anyway. I am kind of fading Frisco here, who we'll talk about here really, really soon. But I just think Kyle Shanahan's smelling his own shit, for lack of a better term here, a little too much. And he really thinks he can truck either Brock Purdy or why can't I think of the guy's name? He dropped out of New York and out of Carolina.
Trey Lance.
Sam Darnold, man.
Sam Darnold. Yeah, no, Chris, from what I'm hearing, it's either one of those two, and that Lance is 3 on the depth chart. So I just think Shanahan, like, okay, bud, we'll see. So give me Geno Smith, who's going to be feeling himself. He's got a contract extension. Nobody's challenged him in camp. He had an off season coming into this season as the man in Seattle, starting quarterback, no questions about it. He's going to be slinging the ball a little bit more. I like Seattle an awful, awful lot. Williams, tell me why I'm wrong, and it still might be your precious San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, this is going to surprise you, but I don't know if you're wrong. These next 3 trends pain me, boys. They pain me because I am a huge Kyle Shanahan believer. But check this out. Since 1998, there have been 30 teams that recorded at least 9 double-digit wins in a season. But the following year, those teams average a win decline of negative 3.97. There's only one team that fits that trend. That's the San Francisco 49ers. There's another one. Over the last 26 seasons, there have been 46 teams that have recorded at least 5 blowout wins by 20 or more points in a season. Of the 45 prior to last season, only 6 were able to improve their win-loss record the next season. The other 39 combined for an average win decline of negative 3.39. There is yet again only one team that fits this trend, and that's the San Francisco 49ers. Not enough. I've got one more. None of the 36 teams in the last 30 years that won 13 games or more and didn't make the Super Bowl improved their one-loss record the follow-up season, and only 4 equaled that prior win total. The average win decline was 3.78 per season. Only 3 teams fit that trend, and yes, one of them is San Francisco. So if you guys didn't know, San Francisco won 13 games last year. These trends seem to make it seem like they're going to win about 10 games this year. Seattle won 9 games last year, and the trend was that they were going to improve by a couple games. So I think there's value. The best value bet I have for this division is Seattle plus 220 to win the division.
What I heard right there, Williams, is you just compared the 49ers with the Minnesota Vikings from last week. You gave almost the exact same type of trends that you were worried about with the Vikings. I cannot sit here and believe that the 49ers are as bad as what the Vikings are.
The Vikings have a better quarterback. How about that? The Vikings have a better quarterback.
Maybe, but they do not have what is essentially the best defense in the NFL right now that San Francisco does.
Jimmy, you're a defensive coordinator in the NFL. Congratulations. You've really worked yourself up to a huge position in almost no time whatsoever. Which quarterback on San Francisco's roster are you going to be afraid of coming out and playing? Or are you just going to be like, it doesn't matter. None of these guys matter.
Well, of the three, I think Purdy's good. But I don't think he's better than a Kirk Cousins, obviously, because we haven't seen him do it for long stretches of time. I think the Niners are in trouble because of that fact. They have a quarterback, but yet they don't. They have 3 quarterbacks on their team, which means they have 0. Purdy's coming back. You don't know how he's going to feel. They're keeping him out of the first preseason game, so he's going to have 1/2 of a preseason game against live competition before he starts week 1. That makes me a little nervous. I think the Niners are going to maybe start out a little rocky.
Listen, I don't want to be somebody that quotes Colin Cowherd very often, all right? But I heard one of his segments on the radio today, and he was pretty much spot on, right? He's like, there's basically 10 quarterbacks in the NFL right now that you could legitimately think have a shot at winning a Super Bowl, and there's 20 that do not, all right? And that's why if I sound like I'm always bringing up the same thing here when I'm talking about these teams, it is what it is, right? There's certain quarterbacks that there's just absolutely no way. And Jim, maybe Brock Purdy's good. And to any member of the Brock Purdy family that is listening to this podcast, I apologize for assassinating your boy, all right? But I don't see it, okay? Brock Purdy's not going to be raising a Lombardi trophy. Sam Darnold, not going to be raising a Lombardi trophy. Desmond Ridder, not going to be raising a Lombardi trophy. Jordan Loves, all these guys that I've been continuously saying, are we sure that all these other things are just going to magically fall into place with these below average signal callers? I don't know. Williams, I see you going nuts over here because you actually know things and I'm just ranting and raving now. You continue.
Yeah. Well, the eye test tells me that San Fran isn't going to decrease by that amount of wins, but these numbers do tell me that. And remember, they still have an outstanding defense. They were number 1 in points per game allowed and yards per point allowed and total yards per game allowed. But everyone is assuming Purdy is going to be fine coming off major elbow surgery. Purdy's total accuracy was number 3 in the league last year. Now, he threw to open wide receivers at the highest rate in the league. Shout out Shanahan's system. But his turnover-worthy play rate was high at 4.3%. The zero graded throw that PFF tracks, that's a short expected completion in their explanation. The top 2 quarterbacks for that stat were Jimmy G and Brock Purdy by a mile. Again, shout out to Shanahan's system and shout out to Deebo Samuel, who, in my honest opinion, is the most fun wide receiver to watch after the catch. If something happens to Purdy, though, do we trust Sam Darnold? I think Darnold can succeed in this offense in the regular season, but if we're talking about having to make plays and say like an NFC Championship game, then we may start experiencing him see those ghosts on the field again. So, but Darnold has always been in a bottom 5 offensive scheme. Now he gets a top 3 offensive scheme. So, yeah, it'll be super interesting how the QB position plays out in San Francisco this year.
Listen to that. You were already trying to be able to talk yourself into Sam Darnold. You were just waiting for that little bit of Shanahan polish to just be put on a little Sammy Darnold's head. Old Kyle getting with his forearm and just shining him up a little bit, right? Making him look all shiny and new for everybody. You're ready to talk yourself into it. I absolutely love it.
He is going out of his way to make sure people know he's a Shanahan fan and not a 49ers fan.
He definitely is.
He is. And but I don't see how, even with a Sam Darnold or a Brock Purdy or even a Trey Lance, that they still don't win this conference. They have way too many weapons who you just have to give them the ball and watch them go. Christian McCaffrey.
Did you mean to say conference or did you want to say division?
Division.
Okay, is what I meant to say. Because conference, you just put them into the Super Bowl.
I mean, they were close.
But we just discussed their quarterbacks are terrible, and I thought you were with me. Don't be talking out outside your mouth now.
So the division, definitely. Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel. You get the ball in these guys' hands. They move the chains. Just like William said, Deebo's one of the most exciting receivers to see with the ball. Christian McCaffrey can do everything, catch, run, and throw. So I see them having way too much talent on the offense, with not to mention their tremendous defense.
Jimmy Jam, how about our boy Williams over here, right? I mean, just the podcast journey that we've gone on with our guy here, right? The stats, the facts, the figures, that's always been there, right? The willingness to come out there with the bets, that's always been there. But the ability right there to be able to sort of lay the groundwork for actually not being wrong, that he just deposed on all of us with that Shanahan stuff. Jimmy, you had to have almost a tear in your eye hearing that.
He's a great man. But again, if Shanahan's that good and Sam Darnold could be Steve Young, you never know what can happen, right?
All right, here's what I want to do. Williams, I know you probably know the answer to this question, and Chris, I bet you do too. Heck, Jimmy, you probably do. And I'm doing something that you're not supposed to do as a host right now. I'm asking a question I literally do not know the answer to. But who is starting for the Arizona Cardinals at quarterback week 1? Because I know Kyler Murray is out with an injury until at least some point during the year. I have no idea. Jimmy, do you know?
Rod, he's been in the league forever. He started a ton. His namesake is the team in Indianapolis. He's a Texas alum. We're talking Colt, effing McCoy. We got to keep it, low. We can't get, bad words here. Colt McCoy, baby. He's still in the league.
I didn't. Chris, did you know Colt McCoy was starting games for Arizona until Murray came back?
Yeah, I had heard that. I also heard they got Trace McSorley. They're just piling up the also-rans of the quarterback.
Dude, David Blau, Jeff Driscoll, Clayton Tune. We got everybody on that team. If you were ever a third-string quarterback back when they had third-string quarterbacks, you're on the Cardinals right now.
I believe they even tried to reach Shane Falco, and he was just unavailable at the moment. Nobody knows exactly where Shane Falco is ever since he won that championship with Gene Hackman and rode off into the sunset.
Wow. Nicely done.
How about that? Williams, really, how much do we need to say about the Arizona Cardinals? It seems clear from what Chris and Jimmy and I just laid out that they're not even trying to win games. Doesn't seem like they want Kyler Murray, because I think you hinted at the top of this podcast that they might be in the running for Caleb Williams. What are we to think of the team out in Arizona?
Yeah, this is a division of the haves and have-nots. I think San Fran and Seattle both in the running to win about 12 games this year, while the Rams and Zona could be in the running for that number 1 pick. 9th toughest schedule for Zona this year. Very young coaching staff. The DC from Philly comes over, John Gannon, as head coach, a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator.
How'd that Philly D comport itself near the end of the year there for the Eagles too? Boy, way to hire that guy. See, again, I don't think the Cardinals want to win.
New GM, and what's interesting is that a weird quirk in the schedule right off the bat. Zona plays 3 straight games versus their old foes in the NFC East. Yes, for all you youngsters out there, the Cardinals used to be in the NFC East when they were St. Louis, and even a bit when they were Arizona. But this defense is really bad. Only the Bears gave up more points than Arizona last year. J.J. Watt is now retired. And Jonathan Gannon did do well with Philly D last year for the most part, but those teams were loaded with talent he'll have his work cut out for him with this Cardinals D in 2023. They were dead last in completion percentage allowed in 22, dead last in yards per point, and next to last in points per game allowed. But yeah, I mean, as for Kyler Murray, he's got every incentive to get back as soon as possible. He doesn't want the team to tank for Caleb Williams. But he led the league by far in passes thrown into perfect coverage last year. That's not a good. He forces way too much. Some fault goes to Kingsbury's old scheme though too, but he's got Rondale Moore, Marquez Brown, and Greg Dortch are the Cards' top 3 wide receivers. They're all good after the catch, but they're all pretty tiny. So how comfortable will Kyler be coming off that ACL injury? There's projections saying that he could be back by like week 5 or 6. We'll see. But yeah, it's very interesting that Zona and St. Louis, or Zona and the Rams, could be in play for Caleb Williams this year.
How, you could have convinced me that J.J. Watt retired 2 years ago. I was unaware that J.J. was still doing things in the NFL, and that this actually was his real retirement. So congratulations to J.J. Is he still hosting that one show Tag, or that was on Fox? Is he still hosting that? Is that what he's doing now? Does everybody remember that? Chris, do you remember that show Tag?
Yeah, I have no idea if that show's still on or whether or not he still hosts it.
Well, I mean, it wasn't just him, right? He had to have TJ and the other not famous Watt brother, who you only see in the Subway commercials. He had to be on the show too. That was part of the contract.
Yeah, it's also funny that we are talking about 2 teams that also inhabited the same city at different times. St. Louis has had the Cardinals and the Rams in their city. And when the Cardinals first moved, they were called the Phoenix Cardinals, and that's when they were still in the NFC East.
You know what my favorite Arizona Cardinals memory still is the pandemic draft, and just how incredible Cliff Kingsbury's house looked during the pandemic draft. I was like, listen, Cliff, you might not be a great football coach, but my God, if you don't have yourself a sweet ass bachelor pad in the deserts of Arizona there, my man. And that doesn't speak well for the Arizona Cardinals football team, that my memory about them is their ex-coach's house. Jimmy, that can't be a good metric for your football team's ability if all a amateur podcast host in the Midwest wants to talk about is a former coach's living space, right?
Yeah, interior design is not one of the Morgan staple podcasts, so not a good look for Arizona.
No, definitely not. I just don't have much to say about Arizona. Congratulations to them. Stink all you want, right? But I think they're going to stink plenty. I think the Rams may actually surprise and not quite be that bad. I think Matt Stafford has got a lot of veteran pride. I don't think Sean McVay, I almost called him Sean McCoy, Sean McVay, I don't think he wants to stink. So I think they're going to be a little bit better than people assume, but I think Arizona's definitely going to stink. So that's the NFC West. Williams, any other nuggets we need to clean up before we get our actual predictions, even though I think we've all kind of tipped our hat here?
Yeah, no, the only reason I'm one of the best bets isn't Arizona under is because the sports books have massively caught on to that. I mean, the number is 4.5 right now, and when you're talking about going under 4.5, that's pretty tough. So that's why I like the Rams under 6.5. I think the Rams and Zona are comparable, and you're getting an extra 2 wins to play with the Rams going under that total.
All right, there you go. We got our best bet out. Jimmy, let's go to you first, my man. Who you got winning the NFC West?
I have the Seahawks.
Hawks. Chris.
Niners.
Rod. Hawks. Williams.
I think this is very close. I'm going to go value. I'm going to go Seahawks plus 220 to get it done. Maybe they get 12 wins. Maybe San Fran ends up with 11.
Listen, I'll tell you, I've been out to Seattle. Lovely. All right. It's definitely raining a lot, and it's definitely not as warm as you'd like it to be, but it's lovely out there. The fish market sounds definitely touristy, but it was a cool place. I enjoyed Seattle. Shout out to those folks. We're not officially a Seattle Seahawks podcast, but Williams is now saying nice things about you. He picked your team, and that is definitely improvement for you Seattle fans that's been with us for a couple of years, because Williams used to love taking his shots at this Seattle team, didn't he, Chris?
Yeah, he did.
He most definitely did. We have finished with the NFC. We will come back next week with an AFC division. And Jimmy, I'm going to let you call it. What AFC division will we start with? Will we start with the division that has the Super Bowl champions, or will we start somewhere else?
AFC West it is. Let's go. NFC West, AFC West. Let's do this.
I like it. So we will come back at you with the AFC West preview next week. We'll do any football knowledge, or not knowledge, any news that comes up. We will drop our knowledge to you. That's what a podcast is all about. And we thank you very much for listening to this one. Check out our other fare here in this very feed, the Yeah We Know podcast, where Chris and I and Jimmy chop up all that was SummerSlam, the big WWE event. And there's a very special Best 90s Rock Band podcast available in this very feed. A couple episodes before this one. Listen to it. Jimmy put a lot of work in on it. Mrs. Morgan, and I and Pete put a lot of work in on it. Everybody else that you've ever heard on a podcast voted on it. We really want you to listen to it, enjoy it. We had fun with it. Hope you have fun. And Mr. Williams and Chris, I hope you guys had fun coming on and talking football. We'll see you guys back next week. Jimmy, thanks for producing. And Chris, the final word goes to you.
Goodbye, Internet.